Bank Connecting Communities, Antonia Martin, Sustainable Mobility Communication and Promotion Officer.
Hello, hi everybody.
Hi.
So you can hear me. Just in case anybody didn't have a chance to read it, I'll just give a quick summary of the report and then happy to take any questions. So basically this new strategy was developed to address gaps in current strategy and policy and provide a framework to ensure we deliver on our climate action objectives and the policies within the Dublin City Development Plan. And we commenced the process last year in 2021. We brought together a group of recognised leaders, both within Dublin City Council and external, to, I suppose, form a high-level advisory group to co-create guiding principles and a framework for delivery. And in parallel, we would have presented and taken feedback from the Walking and Cycling Subcommittee. And the result, I suppose, or the most recent action is we had a workshop with the subcommittee members to have a look at what had arisen so far. But the key learnings from the advisory group and from the subcommittee was that I suppose many infrastructure suggestions are already being addressed in the cycle network plan and bus connects, but it leaves a lot of locations that need work. It's more than about just walking and cycling, and we need to take a broader approach to cater for all mobility needs within communities, especially the disability community, young people and the elderly. The overuse of private car for the commute to school in particular has multiple negative consequences on society. And a final learning, I suppose, was that the COVID pandemic enabled people to reconnect with their communities. So they were, I suppose, some of the key things, learnings that came out from the advisory group and from the subcommittee. So while initially we had a working title of a Walking and Cycling Action Plan, that has developed into what we're now calling a Connecting Community Strategy. And it's a commitment from Dublin City Council to work with residents so people can play an active role in the city's necessary transformation to increase sustainable mobility. So we've 4 emerging themes that have come out that we have. First one, engaging the city. The second one, building and maintaining infrastructure. Third is promoting sustainable mobility. And the 4 is learning, evaluation and discovery, and a number of actions and objectives under each of those. So that's where we're at. The next steps, we're continuing to finalise the actions and the time frame for delivery. But that final strategy will be published following the publication of the Dublin City Development Plan 2022 to 2028, because we want to take on board, I suppose, anything new that's coming out of that process. So I suppose that's where we're at, and happy to take any questions on that.
Thanks a lot, Antonia. And I have 2 speakers indicating, Councillor Carolyn Moore and Janet Horner and Gary. Or Gary, you were before Janet, I think. Yep. Gary and then Janet. Carolyn, you're first.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks, Antonia. I was really sorry I missed the working group you had on this, because it's obviously something I'm really quite passionate about. The key learnings in this, they're very succinct, and I think for that reason they should be very easy for us to take action on. Particularly, you know, 2 of the things that have been identified around the overuse of cars for short journeys, and especially the school commute and the negative consequences and knock-on effects that has. I also definitely agree that it's about more than walking and cycling, but I also think it's about more than infrastructure. And the missing piece from this report for me, and critically the missing strategic goal, is around enforcement. So, you know, this is, we make this point in this committee over and over again, but I kind of personally think that if we could we could potentially increase the safety levels for people using sustainable transport options by 50, 60, 70% overnight if we just effectively enforced bad driver behaviour in the city. And that's speeding, that's breaking red lights, that's breaking red lights on pedestrian crossings, that's dangerous and illegal parking that blocks footpaths and cycle lanes and bus lanes. So I just wonder, where is the enforcement piece in this strategic approach? And we're talking about the number one strategic goal being engaging the city. And, you know, I'm very conscious that obviously we do need to bring communities with us on this. But I suppose I'm also conscious that over the last 50 years, there's been no engagement with regard to how much of the city we've ultimately given over to private car storage, private car use, and the primacy of the car in how we've designed the city. So as we work to reverse that, absolutely we have to bring communities with us, but we also have to enforce and discourage bad driver behaviour, and that is kind of a glaring omission from this report for me. But thanks, Antonia. It's a really good report otherwise, and I agree with the other strategic goals. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Gary, next speaker.
Antonia,
Go ahead, Gary,
Antonia, thanks very much. Really enjoyed the workshop. We have made some progress. Some good progress too. Unfortunately, you sent around a presentation there recently, and it was one of these Dublin beta vote-in things, and the numbers say it as it is. All of these consultations online and all these Dublin beta consultations seem to be voted on and numbered by one particular demographic, and they're not my demographic. The inclusion from concept, UNCRPD, all of the things that we've agreed on have to be done from the very start. I have mentioned before the training school that it was supposed to be happening. That should be an essential part of this plan, because that's in the community, teaching children how to cycle, teaching children how to walk, teaching everybody how to access their community safely. So that's why I keep pushing on it, okay? The idea of, I'm really positive after that meeting, but I'm still seeing the same cohort pushing their own personal agenda rather than looking over the big safety aspect for the entire community. And that's what always worries me, is that well-organised groups can push their agenda rather than groups who aren't so well-organised, but actually are a bigger percentage of the population. Thanks.
Thanks, Gary. Thank you. I'll take another speaker, Antonia, and then let you answer. Councillor Janet Horner.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I just wanted to come in very briefly to say mainly just thanks so much to Antonia and to the staff, because I think they've done a fantastic job in bringing this together, and it is going to be a really important body of work when we get it done. And I think hopefully this is the kind of the piece of the puzzle here in so much the ambition of the city that is going to give communities a real sense of buy-in into how their streets, their residents, their look, feel, how how their kids get to school, how all those kind of things they're going to have ownership of this sort of part of the scheme, and I think that's really exciting. So just mainly to say thank you so much, and I really appreciate what the work that's been put in by the team on this. And then the second thing I just wanted to say, which I said, and I think every forum have had the chance to say this as well, is I think that this is also really important that as part of the new structures of the traffic and transport, where we have the active travel team as well, that it is just so important that they are well integrated into across both teams in this plan, and the approach that we are taking, and the work that is going to go into community engagement in the course of this plan is integral to how the active travel team will be rolling out their work as well. And we've certainly seen in the course of COVID occasionally clashes between, for example, the Parks Department approach to certain streets and the traffic and transport approach to certain streets, and that's what we want to avoid doing. And I think doing this plan right involves making sure that we get that piece of the puzzle in place. So thanks very much.
Now, Antonia, do you want to answer the three questions, and then I'll bring in three more?
I can come in there. Yeah, thanks for your comments. Regarding the first one, I suppose, around the enforcement, we would be addressing that within engaging the city, and that includes engaging with the key partnerships and Garda Síochána and our own parking enforcement to see how we can increase enforcement there, but it's very much a neighbourhood approach, this strategy. So we will be working with the local Gardaí as well as obviously roads policing, and we did on the advisory group and in the subcommittee have Garda involvement in both of those. So that's, I suppose, how we plan to proceed with that part. Regarding Gary's question, and I'm unsure about what survey. I think you mentioned Dublin Beta, Gary, something that went out, and I'm unfamiliar, I have to admit, on exactly what you're talking about, but perhaps if you want to send it on after, and I can check in with see exactly where that was coming from. Schools training, yeah, that would fit in with our promoting sustainable mobility. I don't have an update on the training school, but we are looking at we do obviously fund the cycle right training in schools, and we've been engaging with Cycling Ireland on how we can extend that and expand that. And as with nearly everybody in the country, I think it's a resourcing issue on their part as well about the capacity to expand at the moment, but it's definitely something we're pushing on our end. The bit about, I suppose, maybe different groups kind of having set agendas again, that is a key focus of the Engaging the City theme, to make sure we get a variety of and a diversity of voices, and make sure we're hearing from everybody, and particularly those quiet voices that we generally don't hear from. So that's part of that engagement strategy, to have different engagement modes and make sure that we're hitting all sides there. The final question then from Janet regarding active travel integration. Yes, we are liaising with the active travel program office. We will be keeping them informed of what we're doing, and vice versa, and anywhere we can tie together, we will be doing that. And we've also got commitment from that team that one of their staff members will be present and engaged with the walking and cycling subcommittee going forward, along with myself and my colleagues.
Thank you, Antonia. I'm going to take in the next three speakers now. Colm Ryder.
Thanks very much, Chair. Look, Antonia, thanks for the presentation again. And obviously I've been part of the Walking and Cycling Subcommittee, so I was at the workshop there a few weeks ago. And I think this element of engagement with communities is really important. You know, what was originally termed Walking and Cycling Action Plan, which we probably thought we were going to come out with a different model, a different animal altogether. Now we have a new animal, which is really important in terms of engaging with communities, and I think that's going to be really important going forward. But I would like, I'm a bit unclear, and I think it's really important for this Transport Committee, in terms of looking at the structure, how it fits within the active travel, the new active travel program office. I think that's we have yet to see in this committee an organogram of how things are set out, and how the staffing levels and where people are working. And I think that's really critical to see what kind of interaction occurs across that. And that's something I think is really important going forward, that we need to understand exactly how it works. I mean, the main aim of the active travel program is on the cycle networks, and this is a sort of a separate side issue, but we just need to have something a bit more concrete. So dates and targets too are really important for both the full plan and for the Walking and Cycling Action Plan, and also for the active travel program itself on the cycle networks. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Colm. Thank you. Councillor Larry O'Toole.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. Thanks, Antonia, for the presentation, and I want to thank Antonia and her team for organising the workshop and the ongoing work on this. I know we have a lot to do, but I think we're going in the right direction, that's for sure. And we are taking this issue of mobility in the city very seriously, maybe, you know, more serious than we ever did before. Just a couple of comments, Christy. I think, and I'm sure everyone agrees with me, one of the keys to this is to bring communities with us through engagement and consultation, because that's where if we fall down on that, like we won't get very far. Colm is quite correct when he asks for maybe more guidance on, you know, timelines or datelines of where we're going. But I think the message we have to send out there, to get out there, is to all road users, is that the great advantage to this city will be of making it more friendly, both cycling and pedestrian city. We still find it hard, because, like, I suppose any of us who are listening to constituents, you know, you have the constant battle to try and convince people that this will be a much better city if we had all those facilities that they have in other places for pedestrians and cyclists. Well, look, we're going in the right direction, and thanks, Antonio, for the presentation.
Thanks a lot, Councillor. Councillor Donacuni.
Yeah, I just want to thank Antonio for the presentation, and also maybe just as was stated before, to make sure that everybody's included in that consultation. I know you've been as inclusive as possible, that, you know, we would have representatives of people who use adapted bicycles, you know, so there's increasing amounts of people who are finding, well, I mean, I know from when I was a child, there was people that used adapted bicycles. A friend of my father's used to visit us on an adapted bicycle, you know. But there's you know, there's increasing numbers of people, and it's important that they're, you know, that the cycling and the infrastructure suits their needs as well, and that, you know, that we would have a body representative in that, you know, in that consultation, I suppose, just to make a point on that, and that children, young people's voices are heard, and perhaps the older people as well that would be walking and cycling. Thanks.
Thanks, Donna. Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Mannix Flynn, final speaker. Sorry, I see
thanks very
there.
much.
Mannix, can I hold you off, Antonia?
Yeah.
Antonia, do you want to take the last two speakers? Antonia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
go
can
ahead,
do that.
Mannix. Go ahead, Mannix.
Thanks very much, Chairman. Thanks very much, Antonia. Thanks very much for the report. It's a fine report. I'm also a member of the Walking and Cycling Subcommittee. I mean, you know, there's no doubt about it that this is going to be the way forward, you know what I mean? And it's just one section of how we're going to get around the world and get around our cities. The motor car is here to stay, be it electrified or otherwise. So there's also that to bear in mind. We're talking here about enforcement. Well, I hope that the enforcement hits those who are driving the motor cars, but also those who are behaving appallingly on their push bikes, particularly deliverers and other individuals who constantly cycle on the footpath when we provided millions of euros worth of infrastructure in terms of cycling lanes for them to do it. So I certainly hope we're going to do that. What really concerns me, though, Antonia, is a rather classist approach in this whole initiative. Nowhere in the working class areas is this particular project being rolled out. As a matter of fact, nobody in the Mercer Street area, York Street area, which is close to the city centre, any of those flats have been approached or explained if they bought a push bike that they would have a place to park it. You know, in terms of walking to school, you probably know the kind of, you know, area I'm talking about. It's awash with dangerous traffic, you know what I mean, on the Mercer Street area when you have all of the car parking going into the Royal College of Surgeons. You have a serious issue there. You've got Ballyfermot, you've got Ballymun, you've got Clondalkin, all of those places which are devoid of any kind of safe place to even park a particular bike. And it would seem to me, again, what's being borne out is that this whole approach is to suit a fairly white middle class brigade. You know, again, the issues of women not wanting to cycle. Children don't want to cycle because of the kind of, I suppose, the attitude of certain individuals who are cycling on the footpath, cycling on the cycleways, who are intimidating the kids. And I've met lots of kids who say they don't go out on their bike anymore because of racers. So there's a particular issue out here that needs to be addressed. And one of the issues, the deliverers, all of them needs to be addressed. So while I see this as another tranche, I see this as another possibility, and indeed the pedestrianisation. If you walk down Capel Street at the moment, I mean, let's be fair, it is absolutely outrageous. It looks like a building site. It looks like a bomb has gone off. There's nobody down there. You try and actually walk on the roadway, and it's awash with half-wit cyclists who don't give a shit who's on the street or who's on the roadway because they think it's a roadway. There's a number of people in high-vis jackets who are not actually executing the law. There's no Gardaí around. I was walking down there the other day, and literally I had to jump out of the way of a geezer coming down on a bike. Now, you may laugh, Councillor Kuhn. You may laugh as much as you will, but the point of the matter is that Capel Street is now a situation where pedestrians don't want to go. They actually don't want to go. Seagulls don't even.
It
looks really bad. If you're going to do the job, councillor, if you're going to do the job, city council officials, well then do it right. Do it really, really right. But don't do it in a half-arse approach. This approach, as I say, needs to be dealt with in a proper way. But at the moment, the city centre is a place that people want to avoid because it's a dangerous place to be in, because Dublin City Council have made a mess of the process, complete mess.
Thanks, councillor.
Chair, I just want to say that
Chair,
I need to say I wasn't laughing at Councillor Flynn's near demise by a geezer on a bike. I was looking at a message a family member sent to me, a funny message, and just in case he thinks I was laughing at his near
probably
demise.
about
meant to be concentrating on the meeting, councillor.
Probably
Chair,
about the wooden
Chair,
bridge
on the
there
bike,
behind you, Donna.
Chair, a point of order,
and
Chair.
Feeney.
Chair, a point of order.
Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead, Larry.
I certainly wasn't laughing at Councillor Finn because I didn't see anything to laugh about. I think Councillor Finn has been very unfair to the officials and to the people who are trying to make a safer and more pedestrian and cyclist friendly place in Capel Street. I know it's work in progress, but however, I think to rubbish it in the way Councillor Finn has is totally unfair to the people who are trying to do the work. Thank you.
Very well
The
said.
city officials can defend themselves, councillor. The city officials can defend
Councillor
themselves.
Anne Feeney, final speaker, folks. It's 4:30. We've a half an hour left and we've a couple of other issues to go through. Good morning. Councillor Anne. You're muted, Anne. No, you're still muted, Anne. Okay.
Maybe, sorry, Councillor Feeney, maybe if you plug out your headphones, your computer microphone might pick it up.
Yeah.
No.
I'll come back to her, Carolyn. Antonia, do you want to answer the questions that members put there? Thank you.
Yep.
Maybe Councillor Anne will email you and you'll reply.
No problem. In relation to Colin Ryder's comment, so just around the structure, so Colin, I'm aware that you're unable to make our next walking and cycling subcommittee meeting, but that we will we have that on the agenda. But you kind of have a fair idea, I suppose, that the active travel programme is looking after the major infrastructure rollout of the cycling network, which includes enhancements for pedestrians as well. And this connecting community strategy is really looking at a neighbourhood approach, how people get around locally, and also how they will connect that major cycling infrastructure, and how we can get them to, I suppose, take that on board and embrace it as well. Yes, I agree. Look, that's part of the next step, is looking at dates and targets for delivery of this, and even starting points for engagement. Regarding, I suppose there was some statements rather than comments, but yeah, I mean, Larry and Donna both kind of referred to kind of engagement, including all, and that is really the purpose of that engaging the city piece, is to make sure that we do hear a wider variety of voices, and we try and then we kind of engage in different types of engagement. Then, particularly during COVID, a lot of it's gone online, so we want to get back to getting out and meeting people in person, and kind of that school's approach to get the child's voice, and looking at really kind of targeting voices that would have been historically less heard than others. So that is all part of that plan. Councillor Flynn, I suppose we're just in the development of this strategy, engagement with all sections of society as part of this plan, and we will certainly be prioritising areas of social disadvantage within that engagement piece. And that was everything I had.
And you might contact Councillor Feeney, Antonia, later on,
yeah,
just to hear what she had to say. Sorry about that. Antonia, thanks very much on behalf of the committee for your work and your input and your commitment and all your backroom staff. Really appreciate it. Very important issues raised there. I just want to support what Larry said. Nothing against Mannix about laughing at officials or anything like that, or having a go at them. The officials and members are doing their best. I know they are. Some agree, some don't. That's democracy. You know, I'm meeting people about Capel Street. They're delighted with it. I'm meeting another group of people who don't agree with it. That's their point of view. But I do want to thank particularly officials who for a long time are trying to do their best in relation to the city centre. So rightly or wrongly, that's what's there, and we have to, I respect that anyhow. So thanks a lot, Antonio, you're gone now, and I'm now going to move on